On November 3, 2025, Pakistan's Supreme Court delivered a historic judgment that will echo for generations. In a country where tradition and law often intersect in complex ways, this decision marks a turning point in the nation's legal and social landscape. The court declared that cruelty in marriage is not just physical, it includes psychological, verbal, and emotional abuse. For the first time, the highest court recognized that suffering within a marriage can be invisible, yet deeply damaging. This acknowledgement is a lifeline for countless individuals who have endured years of pain in silence, unable to prove their trauma with physical evidence. This landmark ruling, authored by Justice Aisha A. Malik, redefines marital law in Pakistan. Justice Malik's words offer hope to those suffering silently behind closed doors, and her decision is being hailed as a beacon of progress for women's rights and human dignity. The judgment not only sets a new legal standard, but also challenges deep-rooted cultural norms that have long minimized non-physical abuse. For decades, the law demanded visible scars as proof, trapping many in toxic marriages. Survivors of emotional and psychological abuse were left without recourse, their suffering dismissed as mere marital discord. This outdated requirement forced many to remain in harmful relationships, fearing disbelief or social stigma. Now the court recognizes that words can wound and emotional harm is real and actionable. The ruling acknowledges that abuse can take many forms: insults, threats, manipulation, and isolation, all of which can leave lasting scars on a person's mental health and self-worth. This decision is the result of years of tireless advocacy by women's rights groups, legal experts, and survivors themselves. It was sparked by a pivotal case where a woman's plea for divorce on grounds of cruelty was initially dismissed by lower courts, highlighting the urgent need for reform. The Supreme Court's reversal sets a powerful precedent for all family courts across Pakistan. It sends a clear message that the justice system must evolve to protect the vulnerable and uphold the true spirit of the law. It signals a shift toward a justice system that values dignity and safety over outdated norms. The ruling encourages society to rethink what constitutes harm and to support those who seek justice, regardless of whether their wounds are visible. The ruling challenges the normalization of non-physical abuse and affirms that the home is not exempt from justice. It calls on families, communities, and institutions to recognize and address the full spectrum of cruelty that can exist within marriage. As Pakistan stands at this crossroads, the challenge is to implement the law with care and raise awareness. Legal reforms must be matched by education and support services, ensuring that victims know their rights and can access help without fear. The path forward demands collective commitment to uphold the spirit of this transformative judgment. Only through unity, compassion, and vigilance can Pakistan ensure that every home is a place of safety, respect, and justice for all. In a landmark decision, the Supreme Court of Pakistan has redefined the concept of cruelty under the Dissolution of Muslim Marriages Act, 1939, marking a significant shift in the country's legal landscape. This ruling acknowledges that cruelty is not limited to physical harm, but can also include psychological and emotional abuse, which can be just as damaging and long-lasting. Previously, women seeking divorce on grounds of cruelty were required to provide concrete physical evidence, such as medical reports documenting injuries or the testimony of witnesses who had seen the abuse firsthand. This made it extremely difficult for many victims to prove their suffering in court, especially when the harm was invisible. Non-physical abuse, like constant insults, manipulation, humiliation, or forced isolation, was often dismissed as a private matter or considered too trivial for legal intervention. Many women endured years of emotional torment without any hope of legal recourse, as their pain was not recognized by the system. Now the court recognizes that psychological abuse can be equally destructive, leading to serious mental health issues such as depression, anxiety, and a profound loss of self-worth. The law now acknowledges that emotional wounds can be as deep and lasting as physical ones, and that victims deserve protection and justice. Victims are now able to present patterns of emotional harm, such as repeated verbal attacks, controlling behavior, or systematic isolation, as valid evidence in court. This progressive step brings Pakistan's legal standards closer to global human rights norms, recognizing the full spectrum of abuse. This empowers individuals to leave toxic and harmful relationships before the situation escalates into physical violence, giving them the legal support they need to seek safety and rebuild their lives. The focus of the law has shifted from isolated acts of cruelty to recognizing sustained patterns of behavior that gradually destroy the peace and trust within a marriage, making it clear that ongoing emotional harm is unacceptable. By giving legal weight to psychological harm, the court not only protects victims but also educates society at large, setting a new and higher standard for what constitutes a healthy, respectful relationship. Now, a marriage built on mutual respect, empathy, and understanding is not just an ideal, but the law's new expectation for every couple in Pakistan. The Supreme Court's decision directly empowers women seeking divorce. Psychological abuse is now valid grounds for dissolution, protecting women's financial rights, unlike khula, which often requires forfeiting dower. The court condemned forcing women into khula when they have grounds for fault-based divorce. This distinction restores women's autonomy and choice in legal strategy. The judgment also calls out patriarchal language in court, urging judges to apply a gender lens and treat women's testimonies with respect. Importantly, the court affirmed that a husband's second marriage without the first wife's consent is grounds for dissolution. These changes make divorce more accessible and dignified for women. The ruling is a direct challenge to entrenched biases in family law. The expanded definition of cruelty could lead to more criminal complaints under Section 498A of the Penal Code, risking a surge in prison sentences. Legal experts warn that the system may be overwhelmed, with emotional abuse allegations spilling into criminal courts. There's concern about wrongful accusations and the difficulty of proving psychological harm beyond reasonable doubt. Without resources and training, outcomes could be inconsistent and unjust. The threat of prison may escalate conflicts and stigmatize families. Experts urge clear guidelines to distinguish criminal abuse from marital discord. The challenge: protect the vulnerable without overburdening the justice system. The Supreme Court provided clear guidance for lower courts to implement the new standard. Judges are told not to demand impossible proof for private abuse. Testimony and patterns of behavior matter. Courts must take a holistic, contextual approach, considering the full narrative of the marriage. The judgment calls for a gender lens, recognizing power imbalances and rejecting patriarchal stereotypes. Women's testimonies must be heard with empathy, not suspicion. The court clarified that khula cannot be imposed when a woman seeks dissolution for cause. Judges must respect a woman's chosen legal path. This guidance aims to make family courts a place of refuge, not trauma. The ruling sparked celebration among human rights groups, who hailed it as a victory for women's dignity. Activists see it as validation for victims and a tool for escaping abuse. Progressive lawyers praise its clarity and empathy, but warn of challenges in implementation. Concerns remain about misuse in contentious divorces and the need for training. Urban, younger populations largely support the change, sharing stories and destigmatizing emotional abuse. Conservative voices fear it will destabilize families and import foreign values. The debate highlights deep cultural divides and the need for national dialogue. Bridging these gaps is essential for the law to protect without alienating. The ruling's promise depends on a justice system already under strain. Courts face backlogs, and new cases of psychological cruelty will require more time and expertise. Judges, lawyers, and police need training to apply the law fairly and sensitively. Support services, housing, counseling, financial aid are urgently needed for victims, especially in rural areas. Without these, legal victories may not translate to real safety or independence. Public awareness campaigns must redefine healthy relationships and destigmatize divorce. The law's success will be measured by real reductions in abuse, not just case numbers. True progress requires investment, education, and a shift in societal attitudes. Consider Fatima, a woman whose life has become a daily struggle, trapped in a marriage defined by control, manipulation, and constant threats. For years she endured in silence, believing that her suffering was invisible, and that the law could not protect her from the psychological torment she faced behind closed doors. Today, Fatima's testimony about the emotional and psychological cruelty she has endured is finally recognized as valid grounds for legal recourse. She no longer needs to present physical scars to be heard. Her words and experiences now carry weight in the eyes of the law. Similarly, Aisha, who faces daily verbal abuse and financial threats from her spouse, can now seek a divorce without the fear of losing her rights or being left destitute. The law acknowledges her suffering and offers her a path to safety and independence. Importantly, the law also guards against false accusations. Judges are required to look for consistent patterns of behavior and credible evidence, ensuring that justice is served fairly and that the system is not misused. The challenge for the courts is to strike a delicate balance, protecting genuine victims while preventing the exploitation of these new protections. This Supreme Court ruling marks a watershed moment in Pakistan's legal history. It offers hope and justice for those suffering from hidden wounds, and it empowers women to step forward and reclaim their dignity. But real progress will not happen overnight. It requires preparation, strong support networks, and a shift in cultural attitudes. Families, communities, and institutions must work together to create an environment where survivors feel safe to speak out. The justice system must be equipped to distinguish genuine harm from manipulation, ensuring that every case is treated with the seriousness it deserves. As a society, we must reject all forms of domestic abuse, whether physical, emotional, or psychological. Only by acknowledging the full spectrum of harm can we hope to build a safer future. The path ahead is complex and will require ongoing commitment, but it leads toward a more just, compassionate, and equitable Pakistan for all. The Supreme Court's decision is not just a legal milestone, it is a call to action for the entire nation to protect dignity, safety, and respect in every home across Pakistan.